Going. So today's class was going to be on command, basically how to get paid. So let me just share my screen real quick. So the idea with command is that you can now use it to essentially track all of your transaction, including getting paid. And the way that you do that is by using the opportunities system. So under opportunities, that's where you'll be able to get paid. You'll also be able to use that for your transaction management, like putting together your documents for compliance. But I think the major key point of it is that you can use it to track pretty much your transaction all the way from the very beginning that you're nurturing a lead all the way to the closing. And then being able to do all that, including getting paid through command, just makes it a lot easier and a lot less backtracking and having to go through multiple systems to do one thing. So what I'm going to do to get started, I want to go into my contacts. So basically today I'm going to be going through just two things, contacts and opportunities. And basically to get an opportunity created, you can do it in either one of two ways. I actually like doing it through the contact directly, which I'm going to show you. But you can also create one through the opportunities applet here on your main menu dashboard. So basically that red button here that you can click on, it expands out this nice little applet bar. I like to call it like a toolbar or taskbar. And you can see all the different applets in command. So I'm going to go into contacts, and that's going to be where I'm going to start. I did see another question in here, if this is where it's going to be recorded. The YouTube channel is Bergen County Partners. I'll show it at the end of the class, and definitely subscribe to that. A lot of good content. So let's go ahead and get an opportunity created. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing I want to do is, let's say I'm working with my, let's say my buyer's name is John Smith. Wasn't feeling too creative today, so we're going to use John Smith as an example. So basically what I have to do before anything to track him in my opportunities is he needs to be living in my database. So we're going to do it by hitting that add contact button. And don't mind me if I stop every now and then. Typically if I see people trying to join, I will let them in. And I just have to kind of go through and manually let them in. So if I pause, it's typically why. So we're now in our contacts. And again, if you didn't see what I did, I went here, I clicked add contact, and I'm going to put in a full name. So this is John Smith. We're going to also put in his email, and we need to use a fake one. We'll put in his number as well. Now for the owner, you'll always be the owner of your own contact. If you're under a team, you will have the ability to also switch it over to the Rainmaker as the owner. In this case, I'm just going to be focused on me. So I'm going to just keep it under me. You can also mark these contacts as leads. So if they're coming into your database as a lead, you can mark them as such. If you notice that you have leads coming in automatically, it's typically they were generated either from your website, landing pages, or Facebook advertising. So let's go ahead and we'll add some tags as well. Now for the purpose of an opportunity, you really only have to have their full name, but I want to make this contact card as full as I can. And the idea of that is that later on, I can use that as a way to create a follow-up, whether that be with a smart plan, maybe I want to send them a campaign. Having as much information on file is super beneficial. So we're always constantly feeding our database with information. All right, so we have the buyer tag in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in, we'll keep it as a buyer tag, it's all good. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to add another piece of information here. As I mentioned, I just like to have my contact card as full as possible. I'm going to add the home address, and I'm going to go ahead and hit create. So we created our contact, And you're going to notice here, if I go and sort this now, I have my new contact in here. His name's John Smith. And let's go ahead and just click on his contact. Now you'll notice in here right now, the contact card is broken up into two sections. On the left-hand side is the contact's information, like their phone number and email. You can also see some of the neighborhoods that they're subscribed to currently, any additional contact information as well, and then some of the more about me section. Now, on the right-hand side are going to be some of your kind of like applet shortcuts. So you have your timeline, which essentially gives you all the activity that is happening. I also have the ability to create an opportunity under here. Smart plans as well. You also have things like your tasks and notes, and then you can also create save searches. So as I mentioned when I started, I'm only going to be really focused on two different things, contacts and opportunities. So we're currently in the contacts. Now, how do we go ahead and get the opportunity created? It's very simple. We want to go ahead and hit opportunities. And right now, we currently don't have any opportunities living under this contact card, so we're going to go ahead and create one. So we're going to go ahead and hit create opportunity. And under the opportunity, once you hit that button, it's going to give you this box here. It's going to say create opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and select my market center. If I'm under a team, you can also select your team under there. We've got some people coming in here. Give me 1 second. Under opportunity type, you can see here, this is going to be very important because this is going to be, once you're doing your commissions, is that going to be under the buy end? Is it going to be on the sell end? Is it going to be a lease or a rental? So you want to make sure under the opportunity type, it's the correct opportunity type. So in this case, we know John Smith is a buyer. So this is going to be a buyer opportunity. Now I'm the owner, so I don't have to worry about changing that. The client name is already filled out because we are creating it right under the contacts card. So that's one thing that I like about having the opportunity being created under the contact, is because it auto-fills some of this information. So I don't have to go in, try to search his name. It's already going to be under that contact card. And as soon as you create them, you can literally go in, create the opportunity, and then you'll be good to go. So for opportunity name, it does default it to a last name dash, whether it be a listing or seller or buyer. So I'm going to keep it like that. I'm also just going to add in here, let's just say it's 123 Main Street. That's going to be the home that they're buying today. Now for your custom tags, if you want to add any additional custom tags, you can also do that. I'm not going to add any today, but you could use this as a way to categorize your opportunities as well. So that's also very useful. Now we do have some additional criteria here. We have estimated close date, what the time frame is, budget, commission rate, and then you have your opportunity phase and stage. I'm going to get into those in just a second. So for estimated close date, we may not know it off the top of, we may not know this right away. I am going to put in a date here. I'm just going to say it's the 26th. Let's say it's this coming Friday. Now for the time frame, the time frame is just going to be essentially, when they're looking to buy. So let's say it's going to be very soon. We're going to say a month. Now for the budget. So the budget's essentially going to be an estimated budget. It could be also the purchase price. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in just a default here. I'm just going to say it's 500. Commission rate, I'm going to put 2.5. Then you're going to notice here, opportunity phase and stage. By default, it always goes to cultivate and watch. You do have additional stages in here. From this menu particularly, you can select from the first three, which is cultivate, appointment, and active. There's two additional ones. There's under contract and closed. So once you actually create the opportunity, you can go and you can manually either move it through the stages and phases, or you can edit the details, which I'll show you in a little bit. So in this case, we're just going to say it's active, and let's say negotiations. Last thing we need to do is hit create opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And this is the contacts opportunity now. I'm going to close out of this because you can see. So under the opportunity now, or under the contact card rather, you'll see here there's a 1 next to opportunities. So it essentially means that there's 1 opportunity created for this contact. And you can have multiple opportunities going forward with the same contact. So that's what's also really cool about this, is that you can essentially track new opportunities under the same contact card for the life of the contact, basically. So let's go ahead and we're going to click on this here where it says Smith Buyer 123 Main Street. It's going to open up a new tab. So I can essentially go back and switch through the tabs here. So if I have to edit any information, for example, I can do that. I also like that I can have that information accessed without even leaving the screen, really. So if I hit this again, we're going to go back to the opportunity card. Now, before I get into this, really, I just want to show you real quickly what the pipeline looks like. So under the opportunities applet, this is your main screen here. It's the different pipelines that exist within Command. So you have your listing pipeline, buyer pipeline, you have your leases, and then you have some additional kind of like ratios and activity logs here. It's pretty cool. Then you have your closings this month, also very useful. Now, the opportunity we just created would be living under here where it says buyers, and it would be currently under active. And you'll notice under active, there's a different set of stages here. So I have quite a few under searching, quite a few under showings, negotiations. This was the one we just created here. Now, all these cards that you currently see can actually be dragged and dropped into different places or stages. I can reorder them however I want. Now, in regards to the stages, you can change those and edit them however you want. So if I go to edit stages, you can see here I have currently 4 different stages. I could add additional stages. So let's just say, you know, if this was like a coming soon stage, we would do like a probability, you know, what's the probability that this would be a stage that they can exit? You know, 90%, however many percentage it winds up being. One other thing you can also do is you'll notice on here there's a item called checklist. And under the checklist, if we just clicked on the showing one, for example, you're going to notice here that I have a few checklist items that I need to complete before I can actually move these opportunity cards through the stage. So in this case, I have a few different ones that they would need to go through before I would move them over into the next stage, which was negotiations. And you can set those up for every single stage that you have. As you can see, I can add additional items. And those would be tasks, they're essentially tasks that will be due before you can move them through the stage. Let's go back here. So we're back in my opportunity stages here. Again, the one that we're going to be working with today is currently here. It's called Smith Buyer. And I'm going to actually drag this up. So we're going to put this under contract. So all I have to do is drag it, release. If you drag it up a little too far, you're going to notice that it's not going to let you do it. So what you have to do is just kind of hover over it. You'll notice that it kind of turns blue. And then if you release it, that's when it moves it over. So you notice that it moved it. Now, if I go under the under contract phase, you're going to notice that I have a couple of new ones in here. And I'm just letting people in 1 second, sorry. So here's the one we're going to be working with today. And it looks like I got another John Smith. Don't worry about him. We're working with this one today. So this is John Smith, and we're going to go ahead and click on his name. Now, for the idea of getting paid, before I do anything, I want to just make sure all the information I have is already kind of filled out. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this little button here. I'm just going to edit some of the information. You'll notice here that I have some additional things that aren't already filled: appointments, contract dates, close dates. I'm just going to fill these out, and we're just going to put in a contract date of, let's say it's today. And then the estimated close date we had mentioned is going to be the 26th. So we're just going to keep that there. One question I do get quite often, which I'll go into in a little while, is if there's an offer already set and you want to change the close date. I'll show you how you can do that. Let's go ahead and hit save. So we just kind of completed a little bit more of the details on here. Now what I want to do is I want to put in the property address. So in this case, I need to fill out the property address as well. We're going to go ahead and click that. And we're going to use the 123 Main Street. And let's say today it's in White Plains. We're going to hit save. So that's going to save the property information as well. So now we have the property info. We have some of the contract information. Now, if we go on the top here, you're going to notice that there's a few different icons or tabs here: buyer profile, documents, offers, notes, and timeline. I'm going to be going over most of these. I'm not going to go deep diving into the documents too much today. I think we have a class later this week that's going to go more into the documentation part of it. I'm going to be focusing mainly on the getting paid part. But I will go into this a little bit just so you know what it is and how it works. Now, you'll also notice that there's a commissions part here that is currently locked. And I'm going to go into just a little bit how you can unlock this, and you'll see just how it works with getting you paid. Now, you'll see here as well, there's something called buyer profile. If you click on that, that's actually going to allow you to have your client connected with you through the opportunity. So, for example, you send your client your consumer app, they connect with you through the consumer app. They'll actually be part of the opportunity, essentially. So what it allows them to do is it allows them to view the specific guide steps that you would have set up for either the listing end or buy end. So I send my app to John Smith. He connects with me. I create a new opportunity with him. He'll have access to a buyer guide that I can then kind of move him through the stages. So if you've ever seen the buyer guides or the seller guides within the consumer app, you'll know that every guide has a different set of steps. And basically from here, I can actually say, okay, we're moving through the stages. I want to check some of these off so when my client goes into the app, they can see exactly where we are within the transaction. So it's about giving them pretty much like full transparency. You know, a while back, Josh team would use the example of like that pizza tracker app. So you think of it almost as like that. Every step of the way, they're getting kind of notified on what's going on. Moving more forward into the future, there's going to be a lot more notification type systems set up. So like you'll be able to have your client notified via email, perhaps text. That would be really cool. But the app currently does kind of keep them within the know. So as long as that they're connected with you through the consumer app, you'll have this option available. Right now, currently, I don't have John Smith connected with me in the app yet, but let's say I send him the app tonight, he connects with me, he will have access to the guides and he'll be able to see where he's at within the transaction. Now, with the documents is going to be basically where you house all those transaction documents moving forward. So right now, you know, we're using systems like .loop to kind of keep track of that within the loops. You can think of Command as a way to kind of be used as like a file cabinet where I can upload all my transaction documents. I can actually submit them through here, which then whomever is going to be checking compliance in the office would be able to go through, make sure you have everything there, and essentially make sure you're in compliance. So these are set up like checklists, and you'll notice here that there's a bunch of different items. Some of them are required, some of them are optional. Some are conditionally required, which means you need to have either one or the other. But in this case, you'll notice we also have the COVID in here. What you'd be able to do with this is you can basically hit add a file, and you can basically download the document, whether it had been in your .loop account. If you started using DocuSign, you can actually pull it in manually. You can pull it in automatically. But if I wanted to just manually upload documents that I saved to my computer, I can do that easily by dragging and dropping or browsing from my computer. One other cool thing that I also like about this is the ability to add items. So if you have something that's not on the checklist, you can actually upload your own custom items. You can also attach multiple files. So I can basically drag and drop everything from my computer, hit attach, and those will be added inside of the opportunity. So the idea with the opportunity, again, is going to be like your kind of like all-in-one transaction management tool. So I can keep track of all my documents. I can keep track of my offers, my commissions. I can keep track of where my client is within the transaction. So it's going to be a way where you can have everything all in one and not have to worry about going to multiple places. Of course, we're going to be having the DocuSign system, which is similar to .loop, except that's going to be kind of like the preferred method of all like the e-signing going forward. One question I do get is Command being used for the e-signing specifically? It's not, but that's what the systems like .loop and DocuSign are being used for. Right now, basically Command is going to be a way to kind of file those documents and keep track of them in one spot. But it could be something going forward where they eventually have some sort of ability to do that. We'll see what happens in the future. But for now, we're going to be mainly focusing on DocuSign once we get into that. All right, so with documents, again, that's going to be where you house and file your compliance. Now, to get paid, there's one additional step you need to do before you get paid. You have to go into the offers tab here. So there's an offers tab. If I click on it, you'll notice right now I don't have any offers currently within the opportunity. So the way that I add additional offers, I want to click on this button here. It says add new offer. And we'll keep it as initial offer. You can name it anything you want. I can say like 123 Main Street offer. Hit create. Now it's going to walk me through 4 different steps. Now, if you recall what I did before, I actually put in the offer and close date before, so I don't have to fill that out. I am going to just search for the property address again. Didn't seem to pull it up, but it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit parties. Now for the buy end, it already has my information filled. It has my client name filled. On the seller end, we can also put their information. So maybe this is Batman. And the associate's name, who is the agent on the other side, his name is Sam. Now for the purpose of the opportunity offer, I just need to have his first name, first and last name, and the agent's first and last name. You can obviously add all the information if you'd like, but for the purpose of getting the offer in place, you only need to have that information. So I want to go to terms. Now terms is going to be where I put in the sale price. Now you can also break it down between the cash and finance amounts. You can also add the earnest amounts or option fees. A lot of these are going to be essentially optional. So for the purpose of me creating the opportunity offer, I can put in let's say the cash amount, 150, and then they're going to finance the rest. So finance amount, cash amount, here's the sale price, which was that 500,000. I'm going to go ahead and hit agent analysis. You'll also notice that you have one additional step here. It's the agent analysis. And basically that's going to be, what's the pros of this offer? What is the cons of this offer? And what's the summary? Like, what's the final word on this? Again, this is a completely optional option. But I think as the system grows and moves forward, I think this is going to be something that you'd be able to essentially share to your consumer, to their app, and they can see basically, oh, you know, this would be the pros of the offer, and this might be the cons. And I can say, well, this is a good offer. So that can be the agent analysis. I think that's a nice little value add as well, because then it gives just a little bit more transparency around it. Let's hit save. Now, once you hit save, there's going to be an offer timeline generated. And what that means is that I can have more than just one of these cards. I don't necessarily have to have just the one. For the purpose of this example, you know, we already had the offer in place. But if you're working on like the listing end, you could have multiple offers coming in. You can have a timeline here, and you would just basically be working with your client to select the best offer. So in this case, all I have to do now to unlock my commissions is hit accept. And once you hit accept, the tab here that's called commissions will unlock. And you'll notice here right now, I can hover over it and click into it. So now you're going to see here, and if you haven't been in commissions in the last week or so, they did change it quite a bit so that the actual layout's a little bit different, but I actually think it's a lot better than it was. You have your general info here, which we did fill out before. Now you have the ability to do it here, which is very convenient. This is going to break down the sale price, the commission rate, your total commission, which is the GCI. Then you have below here is the payment, which is going to be what's going towards the net check amount. So it's going to break it down my associate royalty, which is that 3,000. You have your company commission, which is the 37,000, depending on the office that you're currently in or what your split is. Additional deductions, that can be anything like my bonuses or concessions, whatever it winds up being. Then I have the KW donations, KW Cares, KW Kids, Bold Scholarship. Here's my net check currently. Now, if I want to edit any of this, I can go to Edit Agent Payment. I can scroll down a little bit. I can say I want to add 10 to this. That's going to update the net check. Now, if I save, once it loads, and we might have broken it. Let's see if I can click out of that. Let's try refreshing that real quick. Okay. I don't think it loaded. It's all right. But basically what it would do is recalculate your net check based on the different types of deductions that I would be adding in. So from here, basically all I would have to do is once I'm done reviewing this, you know, I can see the pay to the office, pay to the agents, and I like that it's actually broken down. It's very easy to read. You know, basically you have a section here for just the office, just for the agent or agents. And then I can hit submit. That's going to submit it directly to my MCA, who can then check it and then make sure it's all in order. And if there's any issues, he can actually send that back to me. Now you'll notice here as well, there's a button next to summary. It says open. That basically just means that I haven't submitted this yet and I'm currently reviewing it. Once you hit submit, that's going to change then to submitted, which would then say, whether or not it's approved or sent back, this would change to reflect either of those statuses, depending on how it goes through the MCA. Now, a couple other things you may have noticed on here. If you're doing some sort of co-listing split with another agent, you can do that by hitting add another agent. You'll notice here that I can then search for an agent, whether it be whoever in the office. I think in this case, because I selected Fort Lee, I can do Fort Lee agent. So let's say it's Bruce. Now let's say that Bruce is getting 0.5 that listing, 0.5. You notice now that I can calculate the commission automatically, which is awesome. And I can go ahead and hit save changes. It's going to give me a breakdown here. I just have to switch my own, which it's, see, it's not letting me do it right now. Here we go, 0.5. So basically what I just did was I created a additional split. Recalculate that, here we go. So I recalculated the split. Now you see how you can do it with two agents. So if you recall with the green sheet, the way it was done with the green sheet is that you had like agent A, agent B, C, D, however many. And the breakdown was pretty similar. You're basically just setting it up, what side of the transaction they're on. In this case, I'm just kind of putting it what the split is. So I'm actually gonna remove that and go back to normal here. We'll put the 1, save. So even just to kind of revert those changes I just made is very, very seamless. So I went back all the way to the 1 unit. Here's the agent gross amount and my net check at the bottom here. Again, it's that 8,000. Now, again, for me to submit that request, I just hit submit there, and that's going to go directly to my MCA. And that would be basically how you set up your commission in Command. Now, there is one main difference between a listing and buy side versus a lease or a rental. The only difference would be that there is no offers tab. Basically, it's going to go off of what the lease price is and then what you expect your commission to be off of that lease. So then basically from there, there's going to be just a commission tab already open. So I'll show you as an example here. If we go into one of my pendings, we'll go into this unit here. So basically, as you can see, the commission tab is already open. It shows the lease price. Here's the commission for that lease. And I didn't have to go through the whole offer thing. So that's the only main difference between the two. It's that you don't have to create the offer within the rental or lease. Did anybody have any questions as I'm kind of going through this? Anybody in the room?
Can you cover referral fees too?
Sure. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do one of those. So we're going to go back under contract. And I'm going to go ahead and use the one we were just in. So we already have the offer in place, right? We have our commission open. Now let's say I had to add a referral fee. So I'm giving a referral fee to somebody else. The way that I do that is if I go down to here where it says agent payment, I can go hit agent payment, and you're going to notice right at the bottom here, there's an extra payment option. And if you click add item, there's going to be the type of deductions or items available. At the very bottom, there's two different referrals, inside referral and outside referral. Let's say that I'm giving a referral to somebody in the office. So if I click inside referral, I would say, whatever the amount winds up being, I just put in a number there, and I can select an agent in the office. So if I typed in your name and I hit add, and I would save changes, that would become a deduction under here. So you see here where it says inside referral. And then it shows who it's being paid out to. So that gives pretty much all the information that the MCA, like Patrick, would need to be able to kind of disperse that commission out. Now it's a little bit different if it's an outside referral. So I'm going to just hit, let's delete this one here. And we'll go to add item. Now, if it's an outside referral, the only real difference is that it asks for like additional information here. So it has a referral fee, whatever that winds up being, 25%, because that sounds about right. Tax ID number. So it asks for some of this information, who the broker is. So I can say maybe it's like a Coldwell Banker or something, who the agent name is, what the address for their office is. Phone number, and we'll just hit save. Oh, it needs this too. Let's put it on. Okay. Go ahead and hit save again. And then you'll notice here that the referral fee would also be added. And that comes under here where it says outside referrals. So it actually appears right on the top. So that's basically the main difference between adding a referral fee for either an inside or outside agent. Let's go ahead and remove that again. I'll hit save. You'll also notice here there's also an option available to add a co-listing agent from another brokerage. I haven't really played around with this too much, but it's almost exactly the same setup as if you're doing a outside referral. You set up the fee, whatever the commission is going to wind up being. I think it was like something like that. Tax ID type, company, pay to name, agent name. Then once you save that, that's going to essentially help when we're putting together the commission, very similar to how you were doing it within Green Sheets. Did that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. So that was basically what I wanted to cover. Did anybody have any additional questions on how I did all that? Or if there was anything you wanted me to go over again? Cool. So yeah, like I mentioned, had some technical difficulties with the Facebook live feed for some reason today. So I do have this recorded. I'm gonna post this into YouTube a little later today. Probably right after this, I'll upload it and then I'll post it. And then I'll also post it back into Facebook as well if you want to rewatch this. And if anybody had any additional questions, you can feel free to reach out to me via email or text, phone call, whatever.
Just real quick, what about the MLS fee?
The MLS
Like,
fee.
You're on the buyer side, like you have your 2.5% minus 250.
Yep.
How does that apply in here?
Yeah, so you basically be going under here where it says add agent payment or edit.
Mhm.
You go into here, extra payment options, you can do add item.
So it's similar to a referral.
Yeah, so then under here you have a deduction concession. If I did a deduction, you would see here I can fill this out essentially the same way I would have done a referral.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've seen other agents who would take it directly off the top as well.
Right off the top. Okay.
Yeah. So you can do that as well. There's a few ways you can kind of work around with it.
Okay.
Cool. Before I actually end, because I had that question right in the beginning, what was the YouTube channel? So I'm going to go to YouTube actually. I just want to pull it up here. And the YouTube channel is Bergen County Partners. So if I go under the channel here, this is the channel. You can subscribe. This is where we've been uploading all the the training modules, any of the live streams we've been doing. I also been posting a lot of like how-to type clips. So this is the channel. You can subscribe. It's just simply Bergen County Partners. As I mentioned, I'll be uploading this video in just a little bit so I can get it out there. And yeah, anybody else had any other questions, you can feel free to send me an email or text or phone call. And hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Monday.
Thank you.
All righty. Take care, everybody.
Bye.